Oh, genocide, yeah.
I'd like to call to order the SBCCOG Board of Directors meeting for Thursday, January 23rd, 2026.
Hey, January.
Yes, he did. Thank you for keeping me honest. Already ahead of myself. Okay, so called meeting order. Do we have a quorum?
Yes, we do.
Okay, and has the agenda, confirmed posting of the agenda?
Yes, it's been posted.
Okay. Announcements of any changes to the agenda?
Nice.
Any announcements, of any changes to the agenda?
With just those announcements.
So, but no changes to the agenda per se. Okay, so I want to start off by welcoming our new Torrance delegate, Bridget Lewis. And we have a new alternate as well, Sharon, so welcome.
All right.
Mayor Sharon.
Mayor Sharon. Okay, so moving on, couple recognitions, El Segundo and Gardena recognition. I want to take a moment to recognize two of our cities that have recently made significant achievements in the South Bay Energy and Climate Recognition Program. Recognizing we're only half year in. And so, let's see, El Segundo has achieved a gold status, and they got their little gold thing around somewhere.
Except that they're not here.
Okay, well, it's around somewhere. And Gardena has already achieved the platinum status. So Randy's got his little platinum thing. So again, I want to thank everybody for continuing to make progress in that endeavor. And city staff continue submitting points up to November 15th. Okay, moving on. Comments from the public for items not on the agenda. Any speaker cards? Nope. Okay. Consent agenda. Motion to approve.
I move.
Second.
Second, Brad Waller, okay. Any opposition? Any abstentions? Okay, thank you.
And moving on, presentation. So we're honored tonight to get an update on the jail closure implementation from the County Chief Executive Office. I'd like to introduce Wilford Pickney. Did I get that right? Thank you, sir. Close enough, Junior. Executive Director, Los Angeles County Chief Executive Office. Wilford has spent over 35 years in the public safety sector. He joined as the Executive Director of the Community Safety Implementation Team in December 2024. The team's mission is to safely and methodically depopulate and eventually close Men's Central Jail by expanding the continuum of care for individuals being diverted or released from jail while ensuring public health and safety. Prior to joining LA County, Mr. Pickney served as the founding director of the Office of Violence Prevention, OVP, for the city of St. Louis. Thank you. Over to you, sir.
Hello, there we go. It's 6 o'clock in the evening, so that's why it's January and whatever. Thank you for having me. I'm Will Pinkney, so thank goodness for the bio, so I don't have to repeat all that stuff. Really came here to give you an overview of the county's jail closure efforts. How many people know about the county's jail closure efforts? It's been going on a long time. Okay, that's good. And the presentation I'm gonna do, I'll sort of give you an idea of, our sort of trajectory since I've come here. I'll talk a little bit about before, but since I've come here, the work we've done, we just submitted a report on, this is July, right? July 9th. We have to submit quarterly reports, and then twice a year, we do a verbal presentation before the board. So most recent report is like 75 pages worth of information. And so I won't go through 75 pages, but I'll give you a high overview. We have another report due in October, and this has just been going on a while. So our goal is to basically work to come up with a plan to close the jail while connecting people to the community-based supports they need. I came in December of 2024. This work has been going on definitely since at least 2019, really since 2006. I think there was a lot of issues that were raised around the jail. The work was originally housed within the CEO's office, It then moved into the Justice Care and Opportunity Department, which is focused on alternatives to incarceration, with a bunch of work around reentry and other things. That department was brand new, so they were creating that department at the same time that JCIT was in there, and they were supposed to be building up JCIT. You know, it didn't work out. In 2024, the board decided to move the work back to the CEO's office. I'm assuming most of you know what the CEO's office does, right? So I moved it back to the CEO's office where most initiatives start and countywide initiatives are sort of run through. That was in April. I came in December of 2024. When they moved it back to the CEO's office, they moved it with like 8 positions so that the work could have a full team working on it full time. And so when I came in, we hit the ground running. It was easy because there was work already going on. There had been other reports and recommendations and all of those things, right? How many people have been in Men's Central Jail? Okay, so
Stay.
I'm not adding anything other than you've been in there. I'm not gonna disparage anybody's character. So if you've been in there, I think you understand why everybody agrees the jail should be closed. There's no argument there. The question is, then what, right? And so our work is to come up with a plan to close it. So when I came in December, we started, I'm hiring a team, and I've been hiring a team since then, right? And we started looking at what had been done before. And this first slide, you can go to the first slide. The first slide we created for the board, like this is just sort of what's been going on since April, but you know, pretty much since I've been here, right? So we reviewed what had been happening. We decided to adopt what was already in many of the motions that created us and are applied to this work, right? It's really simple when you think about a jail and you think about, you know, trying to decrease the population in the jail. It's controlled by 2 things: how many people come in and how long they stay, right? And the end of that stay a lot of things could happen. You can go to prison, you could be released back because your case is done, you can be released into treatment, you know, there's so many things that can happen, right? But we were decided to focus on 3 levers, right? If the 2 things we need to be concerned with are who's coming in the door and how long they're staying, well, one thing is if you're trying to think about decreasing the population, you want to stop the inflow, right? Or address the reasons people are flowing into jail. For people who may not need to be in the jail, right? There are people who, that's where they're going to need to be for whatever period of time they're there. But we want to stop the inflow, or at least I don't want to say stop, reduce the inflow. Then the second part that's one of our levers. The second lever is, okay, people go to jail and they stay there for all kinds of periods of time, for the lengths of time. I think there's probably about 4,000 releases a month, I think. And that half the people who are released on a monthly basis have only been in the jail for 30 days or less. All right, so a lot of people are just cycling through the jail, but there are people who are there longer. We did an analysis recently of, you know, people going into the jail for the first time they ever booked into the jail, versus people who have been in the jail 6 or 7 times or more. The people who have been in the jail or going to the jail for the first time for a booking, the average amount of time for those people who are currently in the jail have been 214 days. For the people who have been in the jail 7 times, for the booking they're in the jail now on, they've only been in the jail 83 days. So it shows you that people have different lengths of time. Now, that doesn't sound like what you would think, right? Because maybe what you would think. If you hear booked into the jail for the first time, you might think it's their first arrest, right? And so you would think probably like, not serious, right? They shouldn't be there a long time. Well, most of the people that are in the jail, who is their first time being booked into the jail, are in there on some pretty serious charges. So that's why they have a long length of stay, because of the types of charge. The people that are cycling through the jail a lot, they don't have many serious charges, right? So these are probably people who are homeless, unemployed, you know, having addiction issues, mental health issues. And so they're going into the jail, they're coming out, maybe it may or may not be getting assistance with that. And it's just sort of a cycle, right? And so those are the things we pay attention to in our second lever, where we're thinking about, you know, reducing the amount of time somebody's in jail from the time, while their case is getting resolved, right? And that could be working, and we work with the courts and the DA and the prosecutor, the public defenders, to think about what are the things we can do to make sure cases are moving along, that there's not unnecessary delays and court appearances. And then we think about those people who are in the jail. About almost 50% of the jail is in specialty mental health housing. Probably about 70% of the people in the jail have a history, some history of mental illness or substance use disorder, right? And so those are the people we want to think about. If it's appropriate, they shouldn't be in the jail because that's not going to get them better, right? So we want to get them connected to treatment, work with the DA and the prosecutor and the judge, the public defender and the judges to say, how can we get them released? So that's our third lever where we're saying, how can we help connect people to those types of treatment that will allow them to be released? Most often through a court-ordered release, where it's diversion in the sense that if you release into treatment and they complete that treatment, then their case is probably dismissed. There are people who are released and go do treatment and their case isn't dismissed. They still may have to do time where it's not a serious crime or whatever it is. So those are our three levels we work in. So April and June, that's what we were working on, right? We were sort of setting up how we were going to approach the work. We set up some work groups, bringing in all the different departments and justice partners. We started looking at what are the challenges, right? What are the reasons that we can find out people are in jail? We started to figure out, well, what data do we need to get so we can be data informed? It's not what I think or what I believe, it's what we know, right? How well are the programs doing? All those things starting to, we got really granular. Like, I want to know exactly how people move that are going to, be released to treatment, right? Like, what are the exact steps that we're following? What efficiencies could be there? And then in October, data is important. So, of course, this is the largest county in the country, second largest city in the country is in the county. And of course, because of that, we have a horrible data infrastructure in government here, right? Shock. So we have to think about what data we have access to, can we get, so we can start to see what is actually the baseline data. Because if we're going to say, oh, we're going to do these things, it's going to make it better. Well, we can't know that unless we know what's happening now. So we did a lot to get data, establish baselines. We started creating some dashboards internally. The county started creating some dashboards, and just working with departments and getting data sharing agreements to make sure we're honoring people's privacy and all that. Then we get into January of 2025, where we say, okay, what are the opportunities? One of the things I said was to the board, we're doing what we're doing now, right? And we are where we are. So just doing what we're doing is not going to move the needle, no matter what you think what the solution should be. We have to do more than we're doing. So where are the opportunities to do something more, to expand programs, to make sure there's enough funding, to make sure that, we got enough space or whatever we need. We started working with departments to identify opportunities. I was in a meeting earlier and I talked about, how we approach this. It was a meeting about leadership, right? And so one of the things that I talked about was how we use strategic visioning and active learning, which really means you work with people to set goals. You then try things, right? You try solutions. A lot of times, especially in government, we want to have everything packaged perfectly before we do something, right? Because nobody wants to fail, because everybody's going to get crucified or slaughtered, right? I don't have to tell you guys around the table, you really do it every day. But we started some pilot programs, right? We gotta try stuff. Let's sit in a room. Everybody's gonna talk about all the problems. Once we get through that, okay, what can we do? Let's try. So we started some pilot programs. We started going out and just talking to community as well. My team kept growing. We move into April. We started to identify some opportunities, which is in our most recent report. We call them required actions. These are things that need to happen, and they need to happen whether we're doing jail closure or not. Because I think we all would agree, we like the jail population to be as small as necessary, right? We want public safety, and so wherever it needs to be there, but we don't want to be in a society where we got a lot of people in jail, because where do those people go when they leave the jail? Skid Row. No, they come back to your communities. Some of them go to Skid Row, but people in jail are people in our communities. And if they don't come back the best they can be, then our communities aren't the best they can be, right? And I did 20 years, and you didn't do that part of my bio, but I served 20 years in the New York City Police Department. I've been there, I've done that. And that was back in the 90s when New York was like what you saw on TV. So in April, we identified, and now the thing that shocked people in April was the cost. because nothing in government is free. And so we really looked at these opportunities and we identified that we would need about $1.5 billion over 5 years to implement these things that we're saying need to happen. That's not a little bit of money, but this is a framework too. Those are not final things, like you really still need to dig in, but we started to present that. And in this most recent report, which I don't know if Ron shared, but we can make sure if you haven't seen it and you want to go to sleep at night, you can read it. But you should really read it because I think it's instructive. And what we found in the report, I'll give you the tagline, is that even doing those things that we say will cost $1.5 billion, and you can go to the next slide, will not close the jail and will not result in a significant reduction. It will result in about 836 people less on an average daily basis in the jail. These are the required actions on this slide here. One is to expand a program called ODR Lead, which some of you may know. I don't know if you know that. It works with law enforcement and usually works through law enforcement, where this is mostly the population of people that are homeless and have addiction issues. They work to engage those people when they're engaged by law enforcement. And I guess the best example would be, I think many of you, or some of you probably have a couple of blocks where you have a group of people who probably are suffering from addiction and homeless that are gathering, and it results in a lot of 911 calls, right? And a lot of 911 calls that sort of take your officers away from those more serious crimes that you would like them to address. So that program works to then go into those areas, engage people, get them connected so that those calls can go down, and which happens a lot, right? It was an evaluation done back, when, I can't remember, 2020,
22 or 23.
2023 by Rand, is that the Rand one?
That was Cal State.
Cal State Northridge, right?
Or
Long Beach.
Northridge.
Northridge, right? So they did evaluation of that program, so it was positive, but we talked about, hey, it's not, the problem with the program is it isn't everywhere. It isn't even in all the places that even law enforcement would like it. They get a lot of word of mouth referrals or connections around that program, and the limited number of slots when they set up a site, usually they fill up all the slots they have available in like 12 to 18 months. We also started a pilot with the Public Defender's Office called HEAL. One of the problems we found, and let me know when I'm time, so I know I'm probably out of time, but let me know when I'm getting close. The Public Defender's Office, we found that there were programs that people could use, but they couldn't get connected, and they weren't getting connected to these programs in a timely manner. The public defenders weren't identifying them. And so people were in jail a while before it was even clear that, hey, this might be an opportunity for this to connect this person, and then see if the judge and the DA, if the adversarial process will work together and say, hey, we think this person should be released into this program. So we started a pilot where there are clinicians working in the arraignment courts to identify, to screen people and identify if they're eligible for a diversion. And even if they aren't, just at least to inform the public defenders early where their connections to services are. And we found that program alone is cutting down, in some cases, like 30, 40 days off the time frame it was taken just to get people screened, evaluated, and connected to a potential treatment opportunity. So we're looking, so since that's a pilot, so now we're trying to expand that to more courts. SAPC sends is an addiction program through the Department of Health. That's only at a couple of courthouses. That's like the main avenue through which people who are incarcerated, especially early on, get connected to SUD services. So it's not in all the criminal courts. We're trying to expand that to that. That was a recommendation. There's a program called RDP, Rapid Diversion Program. Happens in arraignment. The good thing about this program, they're all good, but the really good thing about this, it requires agreement amongst all the actors in the adversarial process. So when someone does get into this program, the DA agrees, public defender agrees, like there's no arguments here. The problem with that is, I go back to funding, many things in the county aren't funded with sustainable funding. So if you don't have sustainable funding and every year you're chasing funding, then how do you have a stable program? So we want to expand it, but we also want to first make sure it's sustained. Same thing with a program called STOP, which is dealing with lower acuity people with mental illness. Referrals come through the court, through the sheriff's departments, multiple pathways. A lot of times this is people who are serving small amounts of time, get them released early, so that they can finish their time in this program. And so we're looking to, that's also not funded sustainably. And then these two are, the Office of Diversion and Reentry has a housing program that's well known, that's used a lot by the courts, and by the public defenders. These are serving the most highest security people right now. Like people who really, if they don't get these interventions, these are some of those people that come out eventually and just go right back in. So that's been evaluated by the RAM program. ODR's evaluation was RAM. Does a really good job. So we're talking about expanding those. And then we work with the sheriff's department to think about how can we move people around within the current system into vacant spaces and vacant units in other jails, right? There's 7 jails in the system. MCJ is the jail that we're supposed to be trying to help close, but there are other spaces. So we worked with the sheriff's department to come up with a plan to move about 1,000 people out of Men's Central Jail into other facilities, into spaces that they have to help reduce that population in that jail. Ultimately, that's the one that everybody wants to close. So our plan talks about all of that. We had done a projection, working with someone who does this work to say, hey, if everything stays the same over the next 5 years, what will the jail population look like? Of course, everything won't stay the same, but if everything stayed the same, that means population size, demographics, the crime rates, current laws, and all those things, the jail population would grow to 14,500 by 2031, 5 years from now. I think I looked this morning, the current population is about 12,500. So we track that because we want to know, okay, we got that. If we do all these things, what's the impact? And then we base it on that number. Okay, we start to decrease that number. Now, we didn't evaluate all the required actions because we didn't have the data, or some of them were too new. And there are also things we're looking at that we haven't evaluated yet. Next slide. The next slide basically gives you the numbers. This first column is how much money has already been appropriated for the specific actions that I talked about. The second column is what is needed to expand, sustain. This is just a total of the two. What's not included here as well, we did some work with our partners. So if you close down Men's Central Jail, there are functions that are housed at Men's Central Jail that serve the entire jail system. So you can't just close the building down, even if you don't demolish, you can't just close the building down and it doesn't have an impact. One of the big things that's there is something called a MOSH, which is basically the hospital. That doesn't exist anywhere else in the system. There are a bunch of single cells for people who are high security, who may not be able to be housed with other people. There's administrative offices. There's many things there that would have to be replaced. And so we came up with a price tag just really quickly of about $1.5 billion just for that, and that's not included in this. Next slide. These are some of those additional things that we haven't made required actions, and we haven't figured out what the impact would be in terms of how much it would help reduce the average daily population in the jail. One of the big things that's important around the country, and it's the best practice, is called independent pretrial services. These are services that happen, people are screened when they come in to the system at arraignment. Probation used to do a lot of this, where people, there's recommendations made, released, not released. They gather information about the person, family connections, employment, all those things, and they present it at arraignment for a judge to be able to make a decision and say, oh, we think this person can be released, right? The whole goal of that is ultimately, when a judge makes a decision about release, the biggest thing they're concerned about is, are you going to come back to jail? Maybe it's, I'll say these two things. I won't say which one is bigger because it's different. The second thing is, are you going to go commit a criminal act while you're out, right? And so what's your likelihood of reoffending? So independent pretrial services is built around addressing both those things. It's built around monitoring, connecting you to services and all those things while your case is still going on and your case isn't dismissed. So that isn't fully implemented here. The Justice Care and Opportunities Department does some of that. The DMH has an alternative crisis response. People have heard of 988? No? 988? Yes, okay.
Yeah, yeah.
So we obviously have, and I set these things up in previous cities I work in, you obviously have co-responder programs where an officer works with a clinician and they go out and engage people to, help stabilize them and hopefully they won't, have to go into the system. Well, DMH is expanding the teams that they have that are clinician only, right? No law enforcement. We've tried to work with LASD and the LAPD around expanding their co-responder teams, but they can't right now. We all know law enforcement is down in staffing, the Olympics are coming, all kinds of challenges. So DMH already have the plan to expand the alternative crisis response. Law enforcement can call these teams if there's no threat, serious situation. So that's really important for those people that tend to come into the system because they're just suffering from a crisis, mental illness, or substance use disorder. So we're looking at that and following that. Experts are a big part of the system, right? And a big part of every criminal case. There is shocker again, there is a convoluted process for people to get, for public defenders to get experts in on a case, which lengthens the time of a case, right? We found it adds 6 to 8 weeks onto a case just to try and get an expert in, and there's all kinds of experts. So we're trying to work through that because that's just 6 to 8 weeks to get them in. Then they have to do their work and all the stuff that comes with that and presenting it in the case. So it's just an inefficiency in the system. So we're trying to deal with that because we know, I think when I first started, the average length of stay of the whole jail was about 84 days. Prior to the pandemic, the average length of stay for the whole jail was 67 days. If we just got back to the 67 days, that was the average length of stay for everyone in the jail, there'd be 2,000 less people in the jail on a daily basis. So it just shows you how shortening the amount of time people in jail for whatever reason can have an impact. One of the things we often hear about as well is, do we have enough beds in the community, right? Do we have enough, all kinds of beds, subacute beds, whatever type of level of care you're thinking about. So what we did, which hadn't been done before, which is interesting, is we worked with the Correctional Health Services is the department that engages people when they come in to the jail. They screen them for whatever needs they may have, and they document what those needs are, which then tells you what level of care that person would need if they were released from jail on that day. Well, no one had ever went back and looked at all those medical charts and say, okay, let's look at that and see for people who were getting released, what level of care would those charts tell us they would need, so then we can look at our distribution of beds and services at all those levels to then know what we actually need. And so that DMH and DPH can do forecasting to say what we need. Because a lot of people think there's a lot of people that need to be in what they call subacute or LOTS facilities, and there are people that need that. But I will tell you, the chart reviews have been telling us that most people just need outpatient services instead of just walking out the door of the jail. They don't need residential services, a lot of beds. We have those people that need that as well. So those chart reviews that we're having those agencies do is going to tell us a lot about the needs and what we need to construct. San Fernando is another pilot we did with the Public Defender's Office and the DA's office working together. Picture that. Nobody got hurt. They worked together to do some stuff they hadn't been doing to sort of try to dispose of cases early, right? The cases that they know they're gonna be able to work with each other on and develop, please do that. And they're also looking at older cases. There's about 1,700 people in the jail that have been in the jail over a year.
2,000.
2,000 that have been in jail longer than a year. We're not saying that all those people gotta be let out for treatment, but once again, why get the case done, right? The state standard for a felony case is 1 year. Supposed to be completed, tried in 1 year, or whatever the resolution is. There are people in the jail, 2,000 over a year. And so the courts, everybody's interested in seeing how we can move that along. I talked about the HEAL program already, and then we're looking at another program, court linkage with DMH. So those are just other things we're looking at to see, what can be done to accomplish this goal of trying to figure out how we can. And I think people often think we're just trying to divert everybody out to jail. Like I said, no, we're looking at case processing, shortening that time, working with the courts around cases that run their course. We're looking at trying to prevent people from going into the jail through some of that crisis stabilization work. We're looking at releases to treatment where appropriate. So we're taking a really holistic view. We're looking at facilities. We're trying to figure out all the ways that we can reform and find inefficiencies in the system to make it work more efficient. And then see what we can do around a depopulation. So I'll stop there and I'll take any questions.
Appreciate that. Thank you very much. Questions? You guys usually aren't that bashful.
Let Jennifer go.
Hey, guys.
Oh, hi, good evening.
Good evening.
I'm Jennifer. I'm with Supervisor Janice Han's office. Just a quick question about, you just mentioned the inmates that have the longer stay.
Yes.
I'm wondering, are those the AB 109?
No. So, and I'm glad you brought that up. I didn't want to kill you with data and all that. So AB 109, if anybody doesn't know, those are people who should be in state prison, but there was a law passed, I don't know how long ago, that the state said, you take them, we'll give you some money so that we can close prisons, but you have bigger jails, I guess. So that's about
47.
Proposition 47. So how many AB 109 people in jail?
It's single digits. I'm trying to remember now, but it's less than 10%.
Yeah, it's not a large population, but it still it still adds to the number of people in jail. So the longer stay people are a mixture of just people who have a lot serious murder charges, serious robberies, serious assaults, may have had strikes, have committed crimes repeatedly over a short period of time. So that's who you tend to see there. And some people, by the way, mental health diversion adds a lot of time to people stay in the jail because they put in for, they apply for mental health diversion. So that sort of stops the clock in terms of their time, but it doesn't stop the clock in terms of actual days they're in jail.
7%.
7% maybe.
180.
For AB 109.
So I've got a two-part question. There was a lot of concern when we talked about the no bail policy, right?
Mhm.
And I know a lot of, hey, you're gonna just release people, and there was a lot of concern, but I think that appears to be working because the judges are actually assessing the risk to the community before they release the folks.
That's right.
So that's kind of so when you look at all the options that might be available, is that risk analysis part of that equation?
I'll say yes and no. So to your point, there's a tool called the Public Safety Assessment, PSA. When everybody that comes into the jail, that assessment is automatically done. And that assessment is provided right now to what's called the magistrate judge, which is the initial reviewer for certain, not everybody, but a certain group of people that come through the jail. It doesn't go to the arraignment judge, from my understanding, which I don't know why. We're looking into that. But that assessment is applied to the initial release, considerations around the initial release. If someone gets into the pretrial process, then it's a little different. That assessment isn't applied because by then it's older too, by the way. So it is yes and no to your question. A good lawyer answer.
No, I appreciate that, because the second part of the question was, we're all concerned about, public safety, right? I mean, all our residents say, hey, that's our number one priority, bar none. But with that being said, of the 12,500 people that we have in the jail today, do you have any data that would suggest how many of those would need to be just housed somewhere else because of the risk to the community as opposed to other programs?
I mean, the tough part of that answer, we probably do, but I'd say that people's initial measure would be charge, but that isn't a good measure, right? I mean, obviously you're going to say murderers, right? We don't want murderers running around the community, but I was a cop, right? Every murder isn't the same. I could be in a bar and get in a fight and hit somebody, hit the head and die. I'm a murderer, right? But that's not the same if I intentionally plan to go harm you. So it has to be done on a case-by-case basis, I would say. You would want to dig into the facts. But if we were just going to go by charge, we can give you some things and say, oh, this charge, they've had this many priors and things like that. But I don't think that's it might be an initial surface way to go, but you won't want to dig in deeper.
And then
Go ahead.
just to add to that, good evening, everyone. Yes, please. Thank you. Thank you. Good evening, everyone. Chidinma Ume, as Will mentioned, I'm the Deputy Executive Director. Great question. Short answer is no, there has not been that kind of assessment. Part of the reason why is what Will mentioned about the data infrastructure. So we have, the county, of course, has data everywhere. The issue we've been seeing is it's not always digital. So a lot of information is still being written by pen and paper in the jail, one. And then two, information that we need to match right now, we're not able to match it. So to answer your question, we would take the jail data that we have, so data on all 12,500 people, and then we would match it with data from the health departments, right? Who has been served before? What are their needs? That's what we're trying to do. We're doing it one department at a time. We haven't gotten there yet. So we have not yet been able to scan the entire jail population and say, if we look at who's in and why and what their needs are, these folks, these groups could be elsewhere. We haven't done it yet, but we're trying to get there.
Thank you.
And she's a former prosecutor, by the way, so she's.
God bless AI. Pete, go ahead.
Okay, so yeah, you see me at one of your community meetings. Yes, former deputy DA, 44-year veteran of the DA's office. So,
You were virtual on our last meeting.
and was in Long Beach, in Peterson, yes. So, I was vastly outnumbered. I was the only elected official there. So that was one issue that I know some other elected officials said, I never hear about these meetings. I don't know that they're going on. I only received it because Jeff Kiernan gave me the information. He's from the League of California Cities, by the way. So, but this is something that I think is a real need because clearly the community groups are getting the word out and then they just say, get everybody out of jail, and so all the data that you're bringing back to the Board of Supervisors is what people are saying at these meetings, but people like us are not getting the word. The meetings aren't even taking place. And so that's one issue. Secondly, I know I was there at the Board of Supervisors meeting when you gave the information regarding your study that because of the numbers of people in MCJ, that you cannot just simply close the jail and put all these people in diversion programs or outpatient programs, and there's insufficient secure facilities for those who really need to be in a secure facility. And that's still correct, right?
Well, I would say we've said how many people can't be moved to other facilities. We haven't gotten into that number, to Chidinma's point, to say this many people because of their mental acuity would need to be in a locked facility. Like, that's another step that we haven't gone yet. But we definitely said in that meeting, you're right, like we laid out a breakdown of the people currently housed in Men's Central Jail. And there are people, we work with the Sheriff's Department, who can be moved to other facilities in the system because of the nature of their needs and the layout of those facilities. So many facilities have dorm settings like this, like where you just have a bunch of beds and people housed together, 2 or 3 to a bunk. Well, some people, based on their needs and classifications, can't be in that type of setting. So that's what we were highlighting there, that there are people that can be moved to other jails in the system, and there are people who can't be. So as we think about jail closure, if and when that does happen, you just need to know, as I said, if you close down Men's Central Jail, you got to think about all these county-wide system functions. Well, you have to think about that as well. Whoever's left in the jail at that time has to go to another facility. Well, if you don't have that, the main point is you would have to build something because you can't, otherwise it's nothing you can do. You can't close the building down to someplace for everybody to go.
And that brings me to, I understand there was a recent meeting of the Board of Supervisors in which, even though they had several years ago indicated that their order was to close in Men's Central Jail without a replacement facility, but that now they're saying, well, if there's issues where we can't house people and it's going to be dangerous to release them, then we need to have you explore some other solutions as to where we could put these people. That when we are, even if we're going to replace it, Men's Central Jail, there needs to be some place with people in there now to go, because you can't be doing a demolition while people are in the building. So, so are you working on that aspect of finding alternative places
Mhm.
other than the current jail system, which we know is insufficient to house everybody that's in MCJ? And if so, what are those other possible alternatives?
Yeah, so I'll just add and say that the first part of your statement is still a question. So the directive that we work under and that the board currently has is that we look for a plan to close the jail without a replacement facility. That's written into the motion. So to your point, there was conversation 2 days ago, I can't remember, 2 days ago, that would seem to indicate the board is maybe thinking about, a different directive, right? That hasn't done yet, but outside of that, yes, we are looking generally, we work with the Department of Mental Health, the Department of Public Health, we've talked with them around, hey, what else might be something we can do for people who have mental illness or substance use disorder in terms of places to hold them. Now, locked beds is a smaller specific group of people. So there's not much you can do with that because there's two issues with that. People talk about everybody needing locked beds. Well, health professionals can't hold somebody for longer than clinically necessary. So they can't be involved in something that, from the criminal side, a judge can say you need to be remanded to the custody of corrections, and then they'll make a decision when it's all right for you to be released. A mental health professional can't do that. Once you are good to go, once you're at a level that they say you no longer need to be in here, you need to be released. And that's the friction that judges often want people remanded to levels of care that are not appropriate for their needs. And that's where you see a lot of friction between this locked bed, locked facility, and mental health needs, and what should it look like, and who should be in charge. So it's a tough question, but just to your first part, it's still an open question whether the board's going to change.
And the question is, now that they're sounding like they may be open to having some replacement facilities or areas that they could go, what, if anything, are you doing to explore those other places for people to go that would appear to be dangerous to just simply release on diversion or any other outpatient program where they're free to go?
So in the interest of time, I know you're scheduled to brief or go back to the board of directors in September. Is that
We won't go back. We'll release another report in September. We go back in October. October 9th will be when we release another update, and sometime after that, we'll do a verbal presentation to the board.
Okay, because I was just trying to think about when you would be in a position to
Come back
and address some of the issues that be raised.
October, I would say October.
Okay, great.
Late October.
But you mean, yeah, late October.
Okay, we appreciate
It's just a yes or no answer. I mean, are you exploring other facilities or not?
So right now, we are not looking at any facilities in the sense if you're thinking like other carceral facilities. That's not what we're looking at, but we are part of conversations that the sheriff is facilitating around a concept that he's doing. So I'm at all the meetings where the sheriff is talking about his vision for, I think it's called CCC, a correctional care center.
Correctional
Yeah.
care center,
Mhm.
yes. And then lastly, this has a lot of acronyms. I understand a lot of that because I've been in an early disposition court as a DA, but people need to know a website to get all of the acronyms you throw out there and get the
If you look
basic.
at our report, the last page of our report has all the acronyms and what they mean.
Where is the report?
And Ron has shared it.
He shared it, it's online too on the board of supervisors, but we can share it with you guys.
He shared it today. I believe it will go out after this meeting.
Yeah, we'll send out the
All
link.
right, that would be good.
Appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, everyone. Have a good weekend.
Thank you. Okay, moving on. The next presentation, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead.
Our next presentation has to do with our South Bay Fiber Network. As we've been telling you for several months, the fiber network is doing very well, but it is not growing, and we really wanted it to grow. Our partner, American Dark Fiber, has been working with the people you're going to meet tonight about possibly buying this network and the opportunity to grow it. And we, as the South Bay Cities Council of Governments, we have the obligation to approve the sale. So we're not asking for your vote tonight. What we're asking for tonight is for you to ask as many questions as you can. And we're going to bring it back next month for a vote. But we want you to meet the people involved. We want you to ask questions, and then we can try to respond either tonight or in the future. Jake Romoff has been taking the lead on working with us, so Jake's going to lead off and then introduce our speakers.
Thanks, Jackie. Can you hear me? All right, wonderful. Yes, as you know, for the last actually few years, we've been looking at transitioning ownership and operation of the South Bay Fiber Network. And so before I get into who we're looking at for that role, I just want to give a quick refresher on some background about the network. Yeah, there. All right, great. So this is the map of the current network. It is about 115-mile backbone with 80% of it leased through Crown Castle. The other 20% of it was paid by Measure M funds and was finished construction in 2019. And the impetus for this was it would provided low-cost, reliable, high-speed internet connectivity to our cities and provided economic development opportunities for businesses. And we have subscriptions ranging from 1 gig all the way up to 10 gig, and is connected to the 15 South Bay cities. Oh yeah, kind of said a bit of this, but 20 miles of the backbone was built with funding received through Measure M, about 6.5 million. In 2019, we awarded that contract to American Dark Fiber, who built out the network, connected it with lease segments from Crown Castle to save money where we could. This also connected a number of public agencies that are in cities, such as the Beach Cities Health District. And as I mentioned, 1, 2, and 10 gigabytes are currently available. That should be changing with a potential new owner, but this is the current landscape. So we have a public-private partnership with ADF. ADF owns the infrastructure, that 20 miles, and they're the operator of it. So if there's a cut in the network, if we want to expand another facility, they are the ones to do that. However, the ISP is Race Communications. Race Communications this isn't their business model. They primarily work up in Northern California and a lot with MDUs. And so the issue that we were experiencing with Race is our goal for this network was to grow it, to expand it to community institutions, to small businesses, to underserved communities. And Race wasn't an active necessarily partner with that. So after a long search with ADF and us looking for new partners, we have Next Level here. And Next Level would be purchasing the assets from ADF, as well as what you would agree to, which is the master service agreement, which has the terms and conditions of what they must do to operate the network, aligned with our interests. And then I just wanted to show these two quick maps because I think these really show the value of the fiber network. This map on the right here, this blue and lighter blue line, that is the network. All of these triangles are the city libraries. All of the pink squares are the senior centers, and all the green dots are the local parks. As you can see, there's an abundant amount of those within close proximity to the network. So by setting up that backbone, we've really laid the foundation to connect key city services and facilities. Additionally, on the left here, these are all clusters, not individual, but clusters of businesses with dark ranging from 200 to 500 of small businesses within a quarter mile of the network. So not only can the network benefit local city facilities, but can also empower our small businesses within the South Bay and support economic development. So I'm going to hand it off to Daniel, who's with Next Level, and he'll tell you more.
Thank you, Jake. Awesome. And thanks everyone for your time today. I'd like to, that's an excellent introduction for this transaction that we will be asking your consent for at the next meeting. I want to tell you a little bit about ourselves and what we do. Can you move to the next slide, please? Thank you. These are not connected with each other.
No, they're not.
All cool. So I'm the executive chairman of NLX Communications. I have a background as a computer scientist, as a product manager. I worked in the data center space back when I worked for Google in 2000 to 2013. We at Next Level are focused on providing very high quality service to underserved communities and to data hungry commercial enterprises. And we think that the South Bay Fiber Network is an excellent fit for our skills as operators and is very complementary to our existing business, which is predominantly up in San Francisco Bay, but we are rolling out to the entire United States with our first non-San Francisco location being here. And we have just opened a new office in Gardena. I think we can talk a little bit more about Next Level Connect as we move forward. We have some high-powered folks. I do not have a telecom background. I have a data center background, but we have partnered with some folks who do have extensive telecommunications experience. And one of them is Daryl Gentry, who is not able to be here tonight. He has his family that he is with up in the San Francisco Bay Area. But he has sold a number of networks, built and sold a number of networks around the country, including one of the very first competitive local exchange carriers. So he has a very long career attempting to bring great service to folks that the incumbent carriers do not serve. And that is our goal at Next Level. So our primary objectives with the South Bay Fiber Network and for us as a company is to provide very high quality service. You may not feel as a residential user that there is necessarily a lot of difference in the quality of your internet service between AT&T and many of the other options. For heavy users, especially commercial users, there is a very large difference beyond the headline number. Our headline numbers, we want to provide the fastest, most reasonably priced internet that you will see. And as we get into our specific service plans in the next slides, I think you'll see that we do that. But we also focus on latency, which is very important if you actually want to use that bandwidth to communicate with a given endpoint. Otherwise, it will be slow regardless of how many megabits, gigabits, or terabits that the connection promises to offer you. We also focus on the highest reliability. Fiber networks have the opportunity to be vastly more efficient and vastly more reliable than non-fiber networks. We architect our systems for full redundancy wherever possible. And your network is excellently designed for maximum diversity that should minimize that downtime. And we're very excited to make that real for as many of the users of the network as possible. And then thirdly, we cut our teeth really with very demanding customers. If you go to AT&T, you go to a Comcast, even their business services, you have phone queues, you talk to people who knows where they are, and it's basically impossible to get in touch with an actual engineer. And we're just the opposite. We want to get you online as quickly as possible. We understand that the service is absolutely critical to your business, to your government, to your public safety needs. So you can, for the class of service that is being offered to the municipalities and significant governmental entities in this network, you will have the ability to, page our network operations team, network engineering team, 24 hours a day. And at this point, we're a small enough company that I'm actually on that rotation, once every few weeks. I'm on for a week. And it is actually totally fine because our system is architected so as to not really go down. I'm very rarely paged, and I think I've been awakened in the middle of the night twice in the last 2 years. Again, no bots, real humans. We want you to know us. We want to get to know you, we want to know your problems and solve them. We can roll trucks, and we expect to roll trucks from our Gardena office. That's why we have it. The South Bay Fiber Network isn't the only network that we are looking to operate in the South Bay. We also have our own, network outreach programs. So we have staff here, and we can surge staff as necessary, say, an event of a public safety issue, in the event of earthquake or some meteorological event, that we can bring staff from other parts of the country. And then our third primary objective is maintaining good pricing for you. And we do that in two complementary ways. One is, our prices are just, good for this very high quality service that we are offering. We don't try to compete at a lower dollar value for exactly the same service. What we want to do is come in at approximately the same price for much better service. One of the city managers or our IT directors that we talked with in the past month, as we have been going out doing that with Jackie and Jake's help, someone said 10 gigabits is the new 1 gigabit, and that's really true. And 100 gigabits is the new 10 gigabit. And so we aim to provide truly spectacular service at very competitive prices, a price that you would be expected to pay from someone else for significantly worse service. Next slide, please. We have some secondary objectives as well that we think are very compatible with yours. One of those is that we want to expand the existing South Bay Fiber Network to reach more enterprises, more underserved communities, especially multiple dwelling units. And we see that there are many of these in the South Bay Cities region. And we would like to begin to work with them to provide very great residential service to those residents. In addition to the commercial service and government entity service that we have talked about, we also provide residential service in the San Francisco Bay Area. 10 gigabit residential service to your home. That's the great thing about fiber. It can carry a very, very high bandwidth, and we allow that for our residential customers. Secondly, we want to reinforce and support the brand that you initiated of the South Bay Fiber Network. We think that a community network is a very strong selling point, that you are connecting as a user, not with some faceless bureaucracy, but with someone really in your and we want to be part of your community. We want to be seen as part of your community and to be responsive to the particular needs of the community. So we would like guidance, for example, as we seek to expand the network and hook up other folks. We want guidance as to who actually needs this and versus who is getting perfectly great service from AT&T or Frontier or whoever today. And we have significant technology expertise in-house. And we want to use that expertise for your benefit. So if you and be your technology partners. So if you come to us with bandwidth and connectivity needs, we are happy to give you whatever opinion or you would need in order to move forward, even if we're not going to be selling you the underlying service that satisfies their need. And then finally, technology is growing. Data centers are controversial. Nowadays, I have expressed in the past, 10 years ago, it was sort of like having a few pigs in your backyard, right? But then now they're so huge that it's like a massive pig farm that generates hazardous waste, right? I grew up on a farm. This resonates with me. But one of the facts of that life is that the progress of technology makes much faster and higher quality, lower latency services possible at lower and lower price points every year. And we want to bring that to you. That's one of the great advantages, the foresight that when you created this dark fiber network back in 2019, the great thing about dark fiber is you put it in the ground and it follows the technology. As the technology grows, it becomes much, much better. It's sort of like as if cars could go 400 miles an hour safely, that then roads would be just an excellent investment. And you built a road where the cars can now go 400 miles an hour, and we want to bring that to you so that you can get that. Next slide, please. So the advantages that we want to focus on in our fiber infrastructure, particularly, we want to bring you those particularly high speeds where you need them. We want to provide dedicated internet access, meaning as a non-residential user, as a significant enterprise or governmental agency, the bandwidth that we sell you will be available, 99.99% of the time, and not throttled, not limited. It's all there for you. And we want to be your partner in as many ways as possible to advance your goals that involve connectivity and bandwidth, right? We stay in our lane, but we don't see our job as just providing internet access. We want to provide a platform on which you can build many great things. And one of the joys of working with Jackie and Jake has been understanding how many of these foresightful projects you all have been working on over the past years. So we'd like to see what we can do to help them go faster. Next slide, please. I think I don't know if we need to talk to this in particular. Yeah, let's look at the next slide. These are significantly lower prices that we are, for equivalent service than what you are paying right now under your current contract. I'd like to focus on what I feel is our sweet spot product, which is the 1 gigabit bursting to 10 gigabit product. That is not a product that had been offered before. It is not a product that many of our competitors offer. It basically gives you the speed of a 10 gigabit port whenever you need it at a price that is very similar to a 1 gigabit port. That is our, that is our secret sauce. It's not very secret. How we do it at that price is our secret sauce. But and then out of the box, as soon as we take this over, we want to offer, essentially a 20 gigabit service, which is not currently on offer today. And then moving to 25 and 100 gigabit in short order. Let's move on to the next slide. Yes, this is part of our larger expansion plan. Next slide. In addition to offering internet service over existing fiber, we look to expand the network and construct new fiber. And to do that, built into our company is a workforce development plan. We have invested a lot in the pipeline from especially veterans, folks departing the military, training, retraining, apprenticeships for telecom jobs, not just our telecom jobs, but also retraining and placing those folks with great skills in the telecom industry more broadly. We have already begun conversations with the workforce development organizations within the South Bay cities, and we look forward to doing a lot more of that going forward. Next slide, please. We serve a number of communities today predominantly in the San Francisco Bay Area. Yes, I'll just say these communities are some of the most demanding that you can imagine, and we really enjoy working with them. So I think this might be a good time to pass it back off to you.
Thank you, Daniel. So I just wanted to go over a few things in anticipation for this meeting and then a potential vote next month. We've been meeting with a lot of your city staff, starting with the IT directors, and then brought it to our your city managers at our meeting 2 weeks ago. So some of the key and important topics I just wanted to touch on that we learned from these meetings is with IT directors, it's reliability. You have emergency services connected to the network, you have key city infrastructure, and so making sure that the network's reliable, and if there is an issue, that customer service and repairs are prompt and you're getting a lot of responsiveness. We've heard some mixed things from our cities. Some of them have had no outages under the current, some have had an outage, and Race Communications, the current one, didn't do what they needed to do. So that was something that was really important to us when we were looking for a potential new partner. As well as competitive pricing, this is obvious. Exceptional customer service, as I mentioned, as well as Daniel mentioned, 10 gig is the new 1 gig. And especially with a lot of the industry in the South Bay, aerospace, you have Equinix in El Segundo, strategically positioning the cities for as this technology continues to advance and new innovation comes out, to be prepared to go hand in hand with that, adopt it, and get the advantages from it. As well as we've set up, we're going to be doing continued communication with all of our IT directors on a regular basis. I think this goes into something, actually don't know if you mentioned, but we've been working with Next Level to talk about these lunch and learns. So following any consent of the sale, as the network rolls out and just continuing in, we want to invite all of you, other city staff, IT directors, to learn about some of the things that are coming to the network, any new services offering, or as well as with your current services. What are things you can take advantage and do that maybe you didn't know about, maybe the city's not already doing? Okay, and then moving on to city managers, they echoed a lot of what the IT director said, the key priorities: price, reliability, customer service, as well as wanting a collaborative partnership with the cities. So beyond the IT directors, how can public works benefit from this? Community development, new housing you're putting in, how to get it connected. So we're going to be working regularly with those. So basically what we learned is our relationships continued more collaborative with the city. We also need updates from you. And that was something that we were not necessarily receiving in the past relationship, is we learned a lot at these meetings we didn't know about. So if there is something going on with your city, if you have any needs, if you have concerns, please reach out to us. We're going to do a better job at creating that avenue to have that feedback. But if you know it, say it. Next, please. Another thing that is new, under this agreement, the COG is positioned to actually get some revenue that can go back and be reinvested into the South Bay. There's 2 avenues for this, which is revenue share. It's modeled out here. I know we're low on time, so I won't go into great detail. We'll send this all out. But it increases throughout the years, rising up to potentially a minimum of $50,000 a year, or 1.5% of gross quarterly billing from year 3 and on. As well as a commission schedule for us to utilize We're gonna utilize our relationships with the chambers of commerce. If you know any core institutions, there's commission based on this. And then already baked in priorities for cities and core customers. I want to pause and quickly explain what core customers is. That's all of our existing customers. It's you, as well as community institutions. So if there's nonprofits, if there's some education, if there's community services that are conducted through nonprofits or whatever, please share those with us because those qualify for the same benefits in your city as the city would get, which is a guaranteed minimum of a 10% discount below commercial rates. And every 3 years, the COG will meet with Next Level to make sure we're staying competitive, as well as discounted transport fees. And the network is for the people. And so we want to make sure that you guys are receiving all the benefits possible. So I brushed through that, but I'm getting the time sign, so I want to be quick. And then I'm going to turn it back down if you guys have any questions.
Any questions?
Thanks for the presentation. It was very valuable, very helpful. I've been around the area as well. I used to pay $1,200 a month for T1 line, so I'd say 10 gig is the new T1. I know a lot of the cities have a lot of co-located equipment. And I think I'm looking at it from contract for maybe 2 months ago proposals. So I don't know what might have changed. But some of the feedback I've gotten is that the cities that are providing more support probably should get some compensation for that they aren't getting now in the system. On the pricing is great today, but want to make sure that there are guarantees, longer term guarantees that the prices aren't going to continue to rise, because that's what we see as consumers a lot. It's like, hey, we get you on a great deal. And it's like, oh, well, geez, that's a returning customer. You don't get any benefit if you switch. And then the last thing would be make sure the contract's got really good service level commitment. 99.99 actually isn't all that great for a network. Oh, it's like, yeah, well, one more 9 when you're talking about civil and first responders and things like that, or the redundancy that you have. From Redondo Beach's standpoint, South Bay Fiber Network is more of a tertiary service. Yeah, I think we've got 2 other services that come before this, so it's not vital to us. But for those cities and the businesses that it's going to be their primary, it's got to be really, really reliable. And I'm very happy to hear that you're going to be located in Gardena, because that's central for this area. Cool. Thank you for those questions. As an immediate response, we the pricing that we offer here to all of you is not introductory pricing. That is the price, and as part of the agreement, every 3 years there will be a renegotiation to ensure that that is again 10% below market rate. And the reason that we can afford to do that is because you invested in this network back in 2019, and that's that's your most immediate payoff for that, is you get lower rates than if we had to pay full rate for that network. Agreed on reliability. When we offer an SLA, that isn't a target. That is something that we think that we can confidently achieve. And it is true that, we call it in the industry backhoe fade. Like a line will get cut. And we work very hard to make sure that as many folks as possible have diversity and are not subject to any single point of failure. That said, if any city, if any entity has extreme public safety requirements, we will work with you to engineer a system that will meet your requirements. It might not be available for $1,150 a month, but we will work with you to meet whatever requirements you have within the budget as possible.
Greg, you have a question?
Thank you.
Any other questions?
If you have questions during the month or whatever, please come back to us. We want to make sure that when we come back, we have something that you like. And the comments you've made on pricing and other things, we're negotiating now. So let us know how, more specifically if you'd like.
Yes, thank you all for your time. I look forward to having further, one-on-one conversations with you and with the stakeholders that you represent.
Great. Thank you very much. Appreciate your time. Okay, moving on. COG program action items, reports and update, transportation.
Mike Bulkey is on the screen and we also have Andy Seawick here. Mike, did you want to give us a report today on the Metro Board?
Sure.
Excited about that.
Excuse me if I read off my notes because I have quite a bit to say in a short briefing here. Today we had a very long meeting. We said a very long goodbye to two very distinguished board members, Ara Najarian from Glendale, who served for 20 years and was a great director, and Fernanda Dutra from Gateway, who also he served for 5 years, and he also was a really good board member. And the board welcomed Mayor Rex Richardson from Long Beach to represent Gateway. Then we moved into the report from the ad hoc committee on board composition. And staff had several recommendations. The recommendation they made was measure alternative A that was very simple. It gave the on the issue of what to do about the CEO coming on board in a short while. Supervisor Horvath has been advocating that Metro create a specific new seat for the CEO. And that has been met with some significant pushback for a variety of reasons, not least among them is the fact that it would give a disproportionate representation from the Board of Supervisors. The other alternative that was similar to that was the alternative D that gave them the flexibility, but it also basically said that they had to select him from their pool of 5, so they could only have 5 members. Mayor Bass, Director Barger, and Najarian came up with a motion based on alternative D that maintained the flexibility of selecting their CEO, county CEO, as a Metro Board member, but within that allotted 5 board members. And in 2032, they gave that they would establish a flexibility as the board expanded to include anyone out of the 9 supervisors or the CEO to fill the 5 seats for the supervisors. And then in the Bass motion, because the issue of a transit rider being represented on the board was pretty much the dominant feedback that the board got from the outreach that was made, a very significant outreach that was made during the board composition research. Mayor Bass was stipulating that once the county CEO is seated, the mayor of LA would make one of their citizen appointees a transit rider. Then we had another motion from Supervisor Hahn that to establish two new members. Supervisor Hahn, because she has been doing a lot of riding on the bus to and from board meetings and things like that, has become a strong advocate for rider representation. And her motion sought or seeks to establish a new seat specifically for transit riders. While both Bass and Hahn advocate this, along with all of the other board members, it was the Hahn motion that was the one selected to carry this further. And staff will return probably around December with recommendations on how to do that selection. Supervisor Hahn also proposes that she would like to see the small cities like 80,000 or even maybe smaller, to have someone representing them, their interests, global interests. And that motion was, that part of the motion has been referred to the still in existence ad hoc board composition committee, and they will receive further study on that idea. Supervisor Horvath then had a motion to, she still is trying to push the CEO representation. And even though that item was pretty much decided in terms of the Bass motion, to give them the flexibility to the soups to select that person if they so desire out of their five. Supervisor Horvath wanted to see that and a specific seat for labor to be studied further by the ad hoc committee. Now, both of those issues were thoroughly studied and analyzed, and the board rejected the further study for the CEO, but they did agree to allow the seat for labor to be further studied. That's pretty much the capsulation of what was going on today. It was a lot more complicated than that, and a whole lot more sausage making while the board meeting was going on. In terms of more procedural issues, rather than just the actually policy issue per se. Free to open it up to any questions. Otherwise, I'll hand it over to Andy to brief you briefly on the Open and Small Streets program that was discussed today. So if anyone has any questions, I'll try to answer them.
Okay, we're gonna have to move fast, Andy, but as he's walking up, I just want to say that we had some preliminary discussions on this motion, and the small cities motion is going to this ad hoc committee for the, you mentioned that small cities motion. Small cities, we don't exactly know what the definition is, I think, at this point. And what I had asked Mayor Butts to consider was to make that a fifth seat. If we have 4 city seats, just make a 5th city seat, because there's no place for small cities to get together and hold that person accountable. So where are you how do you get small cities from all over LA County to get together and they have 1 seat that they elect somebody? It doesn't Anyway, so I think that when this gets back to the ad hoc committee, we should probably bring this up again, because I don't think it makes any sense for the way the Metro Board is currently constructed.
You know, I also just forgot to say that in that on motion, what she wants to create is a rotating seat that every 4 years, another COG would send a representative to fill that fifth seat. So it would rotate every 5th year, every 5 years, every 4 years.
Is that
And-
still on, Mike? Is that still, and that was.
For me?
That was still discussed today? The.
No,
Okay.
no, basically, this issue was just brought up briefly as a, I'd like to also refer this to the ad hoc committee.
And the
So
issue-
it really didn't get any discussion.
Okay, the issue of the rotating seat, to me, is even worse, because there is no term member of the board, and this would be the only seat that would be that would have a limit. They would not have the same standing as any other member of the board. So it would be nice if they consulted you, the cities, about how you want your city seat.
I'll take that back.
Thank you, Mike. Andy Siwak, Local Government Relations Manager. I'll be very quick as Jackie requested. Quick thing, Karen Bass is now the chair of the Metro Board. She was installed yesterday. She'll be the board chair for the next fiscal year. One thing about open streets. So Metro has this open streets program. We gave out $10 million in funding to cities in the cycle 6 and 7. And funding was intended for events for the World Cup and for the Olympics. Torrance won one of the awards. They had 2 events. I was at the second one at El Prado Park. They closed the streets down to the public. Second one was really great. There was some interest in identifying some more money to fund this program. Right now, there is no identified funding to have open streets between the World Cup and the Olympics. However, cities can use their local return and their TDA, TDA 3 funds to do open streets. That's something that Metro staff might be communicating out a little bit more in the coming weeks to let cities know that if you're interested in doing open streets, you can use those funds. However, Supervisor Horvath wanted to look into identifying some Metro money that could be potentially used for that. So that will be reported later date. And the last thing I just want to say very quickly is for the I-105 Express Lanes project, we'll be having some closures the weekend after next, the weekend of August 1st and 2nd. So the eastbound 105 lane will have 2 lanes closed between the eastbound 105 and the 405, and the northbound 405 eastbound 105 connector will be closed from Friday night to Sunday, and the westbound 105 will have 2 inside lanes closed as well, and there will be a bus bridge. So I just wanted to put that out there to let all of you know. Any other questions about anything with Metro related?
Okay, thank you. Okay, moving on.
I did have
Oh, sorry, B, go ahead.
a question, and I don't think I need this, but I'll put it to be compliant. Okay, so with the question regarding that you mentioned, Jackie, about the seat, if there is going to be like another seat for cities, isn't it true that we do I forget the name now, all of a sudden.
City selection.
City selection. So, I mean, that could be done if it's in the context of, we have to take what we get in terms of the motions, but if it's cities under 80,000, which would include a lot of cities as small, there would be then the city, delegates from cities that fit that description would have to go to the city selection, and only they would vote on the representative. Isn't that true? Or?
Well, the way the city selection committee works is they vote as a subset, and then the large city selection committee would do it. But what I'm saying is that yes, it would have to go through the cities, it should go through the city selection committee. And Metro, the people on the Metro board thought of everything except the existing system, which is just take the 4 representatives, make them 5, and then they're accountable to a representative. What I'm saying is how does a small city representative be accountable to all those small cities? Where are they going to meet them all? When they'll have to create their own way of being accountable. And yet we have a system that works right now why not use the one that works right now? That's what I was.
Okay, okay. I just thought you were saying there was no way for them to get elected or
So there's no way for them to really be accountable.
I see, to try to talk amongst each other.
Okay, Bill just stepped out for a second. I'm just gonna go on to Jake back. Okay, well, RENA replacement, while Jake's walking up. RENA replacement is something that we're working on. I am meeting with candidates and talking about what the city's position is on this. I've met with several candidates so far, and we're also trying to find, any other opportunities to discuss the fact that the RENA numbers are not based on anything but a recipe for failure for cities. And we really, really want to, just 2 days ago, there was an article in the LA Times where Governor Newsom said that the cities were the villain again. And so what we're trying to do is say, we all want to build housing. Let's sit down and talk. Let's stop making the cities the villain. Let's collaborate. Let's make sure we get what we want. And if we had affordable housing, we could all stop talking, but it's not working right now. So let's find a way to make it work. And so our discussions are going on. We're part of a statewide group that meets also to discuss how we can work with the state. It doesn't look very good that we have opportunities to talk to housing advocates and they don't want to talk to us. The only way this is going to work is if we all sit down together. So that's what we're trying to advocate. Jake, do you want to?
Yes, I'll be very brief. Okay, our two REAP 2.0 projects. We have commercial redevelopment to housing. This project closes out at the end of August. The only things remaining are we will be presenting to Torrance, and Gardina's not here, but Torrance and Gardina's council in August. Our second REAP project is. Oh my God, sorry, he's looking over there. Sorry. He's planning. Did I say Carson?
I don't know what you said.
I'd like January, whatever.
Torrance and Carson. Our mobility hubs project. That one wraps up at the end of the year. We've met with most of the cities on the potential sites. Now we're going to be conducting some community engagement. It's going to be very high level. What type of amenities would bring people to these centers so that this could feed into the conceptual designs that will be drafted for the final report. I'll be coming back to the board probably with that sometimes towards the end of the year. As far as micromobility programs and projects, we finally executed our long-awaited SS4A grants with the DOT after about 1.5 years. That is kicking off with a ride and drive event in the city of Lomita on their national night out. This is bringing together not just the vendors to educate and show people what's the best possible ride so kids aren't buying motorcycles that have pedals, but also bringing together the safety stakeholders, including the Beach Cities Health District, the Harbor UCLA Trauma Center, e-bike sense, which is one of the e-bike safety courses in the South Bay. So we want all the micromobility stakeholders in one place so that people can get exposed to the different vehicles are offered, learn about safety, learning about the health, and as it's National Night Out, sheriffs will be there, so you can also learn about enforcement.
And ride and drive, it's a drive, ride and drive.
Yes, you can try out the vehicles, so it's fun too. So that's our first event, and after that, we're also looking at the sticker programs and doing evaluation across the sub-region. And then this is going to wrap up in a micromobility safety action plan for the entire sub-region. Looking at high injury networks, potential safety increases for intersections, as well as template ordinances, best practices from other jurisdictions. To be quick, I'll stop at that, but.
If a city wants a ride and drive, I mean, obviously we can't do them everywhere, but we could, let us know.
Yeah, and we'll have a write-up following this event on what we learned, what worked well, how the community responded, and we'll share that with you all. And if it's of interest, we'd love to do it in your community. And then I'm gonna bring up Ann to talk about our Carson to the Sea project.
But before you call Ann, Jake, he's our one-man show tonight. Do you want to do the lead certification?
I think Kim had a couple.
You're gonna do that? Okay.
Well, I'm gonna stay up, but she has some EE stuff too.
Yeah, the ride and drive at Lomita is also partially funded through our Carson funds. I wanted to note that we met with SCAG earlier this week. They're doing a planning for Main Street study in the cities of Long Beach, LA, and Lomita. And they were proposing these bike lanes on PCH and, we sat down with them and discussed the LTN and how we care about diverting bike traffic onto parallel, more safer, slower, less congested routes. And so they were receptive to that. And then we've been sharing, or we've begun to share our Carson to the Sea project updates with them. Carson to the Sea, to reiterate, covers Carson, moving south to Lomita down into San Pedro, looking at gaps in the proposed local travel network in those areas. Our consultant is wrapping up they're starting to develop concept designs at select locations. And thanks to Axel, who looked at the map with us and suggested that Anaheim and Gappy would be better alternatives than previously some of the proposed segments on Western Avenue and John F. Gibson, all terrible, terrible streets for micromobility. So
And isn't it true that the Pacific Coast Highway was not just bike lanes, but it was taking a lane away to make.
yes,
the bike-
it was going to be a protected class 4 bike lane that would reduce a lane of traffic in each direction, I think.
I'm sure they.
And we asked them to, we submitted a letter to SCAG, we asked them to remove that from the proposed concept plan.
As SCAG explained it to us, it was designed to make sure that Lomita's entire council was voted out in Glenville.
And I don't know that they're taking it out because I don't know that did they say they were taking it out?
They said they would take it out and wondering if they could keep it around for future recommendations.
right,
But it will not be in any of the current recommendations.
Yeah.
Wow, but God, that's the dumbest thing.
Yeah, Kim,
So dangerous.
sorry, Jack, can we move on to E?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, so I just wanted to give everybody a heads up that we will be contacting different staff from your city about a potential for energy efficiency funding that we just got awarded for. And this funding gives us money to do what they call unincentivized projects. So like lighting and things like that. And the way that a city gets it is if they do a regular project that is incentivized. So for example, a lot of cities have the opportunity to do heat pump water heater replacements. And so if they do that, then we might be able to offset probably pretty close to at least 75 to maybe even 100% of the cost of maybe buying lighting for you, for example, if you need to replace your lighting. And so it's a pilot project. It has not been approved anywhere else, only in the South Bay. So we want to make sure that we get as many cities this extra dollars as soon as possible. And so we're doing some analysis. We're going to be looking at the projects that we've identified through the facility equipment inventory and then contacting your staff directly. So maybe next month I'll be able to tell you about the projects that we are moving forward on. So I just wanted to share that before Jake talks about the lead training.
Thank you, Kim. Yeah, just a quick update. We have just this afternoon finished session 3 out of 4 of our live lead training for city staff. We have a great variety of cities participating, including Carson, El Segundo, which has 6 people participating, Hawthorne, Gardena, Hermosa Beach, Lomita, Axel, the county, Manhattan Beach, Rolling Hills Estates, Torrance, Palos Verdes Estates, and Redondo Beach. We're very pleased with the attendance at these sessions and the engagement that we're getting. Just a reminder, this is for LEAD, which is leadership in environmental or in energy and environmental design. So it's how to make your city facilities and all future developments efficient from an energy, water, all of these perspectives, as well as indoor environmental quality, making sure the people in there enjoy the space. And all your the staff members who are participating will get the free training, and we'll be reimbursing the exam fees for 2 of the exams, the Green Associate, and then any specialization that they wish to pursue. And so hopefully we'll have a number of LEED certified city staff by the end of the year. That's all for me.
Great. Thank you. Okay, moving on, homeless services and housing issues. Bronson, over to you.
Right. Let's see, Ron Chu, Director of Housing and Home Services. the cost was dark this month, the Affordable Housing Agency, so no updates there. We'll provide an update next month, along with our fiscal year 25-26 metrics on our prevention work that we've been doing for the past, 10 months. One of our themes this year on the homelessness side has been getting DMH to engage more strongly with our cities. We're seeing some fruits of that labor. We had a great meeting with, the department director, Dr. Lisa Wong, and, actually, Kyla Coates, who used to be one of Janice Hahn's deputies, Supervisor Hahn's deputies. The takeaway from that meeting was that they recognized there is this gap in coordination between the COG, our cities, and the department. And so what they're gonna do is they're gonna activate their area chiefs to fill this gap, to better coordinate services. So that way there's gonna be a single point of contact between the department and us. That way we can ensure that the service delivery that DMH is doing is impactful in our city. So that was a big development from that meeting. And our area chief is Jennifer Bailey. So we're gonna get in touch with her and make sure that she understands some of our needs in our cities, and that the folks on our streets are being served by DMH in a timely manner. So that was good. And I think that's going to be the beginning of a more close relationship between DMH and our COG, and also hopefully the other COGs in the other regions as well. One thing that happened also this past week, Jackie and a few of you all toured the ECRC, the Emergency Centralized Response Center at the county. I don't know, Jackie, if you want to say a little bit something about that tour?
Well, they're inviting all the electeds, but what I felt from the tour was that it's trying to centralize a lot of the work that we're doing. And when I asked them to report back to us how it's going, because calls come in there, they said, well, we could call them for reports once a month. So I was really not very happy with the response. And I also found out that they are using some of the money that we send them to finance this center. So I would really like, and maybe we have one supervisor right here, maybe we can take back. I think they need to be more, they're funding us. I mean, we're using county money, and I did not sense a collaboration. I sensed that they're trying to centralize that kind of response. Ronson, I don't know if you want to add anything.
Yeah, and just to let you know what the ECRC is it's really, I don't know if you all remember LA Hop, but that was the web portal you would tell constituents to go to report homelessness on the streets. Well, all those referrals are not going to the ECRC, and they're basically then turning around and contacting our local nonprofits, our COG programs, and your city staff, for those who have case managers, to kind of see if they can help with the individual. So it's sort of like this feedback loop that they have with us, and that's basically what it is right now. And now they also are. The vision for ECRC is so that they can coordinate other county departments like DPSS, DMH, DHS to have a more centralized county response to homelessness in our communities.
Yeah, I'm not sure the vision is bad. I'm worried about the execution being just top down.
Yeah, we don't want them to create another loss at the county, and we want to make sure that this is not the beginnings of that, is what Jackie is saying. One last thing I just want to mention, another result of DMH, this is something tangible. We are looking very closely at their performance. There is one of their social workers at one of our cities that wasn't performing very well. And together with the city, we've been advocating for some change there. And they this week reassigned that person and are bringing in a better person to work with that city. So there are a lot of good tangible outcomes that are happening for DMH engagement. So that's good.
But we did, I mean, it was from our meeting. So these meetings are important.
Right. Yeah. All updates.
Sure.
Thank you. Moving on, Jackie, you want to do the housing trust update?
Fine.
The host.
I don't think there's too much going on.
Here.
Yeah, I think the big focus is SB 799.
Yeah, okay, let me just mention the Housing Trust met, and they're not meeting again until September. Because what they did is this is important, I guess, they actually passed a work program. And the work program includes things like researching how we're going to do redevelopment loans, researching construction loans, what other kinds of projects. There were a couple of other things that were involved that we laid out. And so instead of having them meet again in August, we want to spend a couple of months really flushing out how those policies will work so that we can be ready to have the board vote on the policies and then issue some with NOFAs, ask cities to come in with projects. In the meantime, we are meeting with developers that come in. We met with somebody the other day. And, people are learning us. And so things are coming together, but we wanted to have that study time to get our act together. But today we have here from Senator Allen's office, Lisa Robinson and Emily. I've never said your last name. Yeah, okay. Emily's our contact in Sacramento and Lisa's our contact here. And maybe you want to give an update on SB 799?
Not to push you on the spot or anything. Chair.
Hello, nice to meet you all. I think the current update on SB 799 is that we're trying to land some additional language to provide the trust additional statutory authority to fund some types of moderate income housing. I think that's kind of the last piece of the legislation that we've been working on the last couple of weeks. We've had some productive conversations. We're having, an additional conversation to help put representatives from the trust in contact with some of the advocacy and lobbying groups tomorrow. So hopefully that conversation will be productive as well. And we'll see kind of where we land after that. And I think at that point, that's kind of going to be a checkpoint for what do we need to kind of finalize our language for the final round of amendments before this bill goes up for a floor vote.
Great, thank you.
Thank you for that. I just have to, some of us are delegates to the Housing Trust. Emily in particular and Lisa have been really bulldogging this as much as they can, but it's kind of a precarious position because we want an amendment for allowing us to be able to, the trust to be able to fund or commit loans for mid-moderate housing. But the quote unquote affordable housing advocates are against it for some reason. And we do have an amendment so far that would allow non-electeds to be members of the trust up to 75% of the meetings and vote. We don't want to jeopardize that. And it's a real fine line that we're walking because it seems like the Assembly Housing and Local Governance Committee can see our point. It seems like Senate counterparts for those committees cannot. And the people that we're meeting with tomorrow who purportedly are affordable housing advocates have the ear of the consultants for the Senate Housing and Senate Local Government Committees. So we don't want to jeopardize anything. And it was a lot just to get this meeting with them because they wouldn't meet with us before. So thank you. But, we'll just have to see where we end up. We don't want to just check a box and say we met with them, we met with the opposition, and we might actually be heard.
And we want to hear them, sort of.
Yeah. No, I just want to correct it. We are allowed alternates now. We just can't have non-elected alternates. So the question is that if we get hamstrung again with policies, then we might want to consider letting some of these organizational things go and just try a bill next year. Because I don't think my personal opinion is we should not turn ourselves into pretzels to satisfy people that will not let us build the housing that we know we need in the South Bay, which is for the Air Force Base, the teachers, the police. And if we can't build that housing, we can't build it because we don't have any money right now. This is a theoretical conversation, but if we can't find the money, if we were to find the money right now, if it was public, we wouldn't be able to use it. And that's just crazy. I mean, we might want to just wait another year and see if we can. But it's a policy decision. That's not my decision. But I do think at some point when you've been twisted into a pretzel, you have to decide if it's worth it.
Jackie, where are these people? Are they in our region? Are they Bay Area people or?
May I speak to that?
Sure.
So the affordable housing advocates, they're primarily I think representatives of clients across the state. So the people I'm speaking to are actually representatives on behalf of like many clients, but they're primarily residing in Sacramento so that they can kind of have this discourse with us, sometimes in person, to show up to committee meetings, things like this.
So the folks they're representing, where are they? Because that's who we.
They're all across the state.
That's part of the problem, Barry, is that I think that I think that's part of the problem, because I think that they're painting the entire county with the same brush.
Oh, yeah.
We have many different cities in our South Bay Regional Trust who all have different needs, different wants for what they need in their own communities, but more importantly, what they need in the region. And, you know, I just get in the back of my mind, I think that the affordable housing advocates think that a city like mine, for example, that has a low RENA, is not going to build low-income housing. But none of us can escape our RENA requirements. Every cycle, we have to fulfill them, the zoning for those homes. So I don't know where they're coming from, and that's what I want to get out of that meeting tomorrow.
And Measure A money that we have from La Casa can only be used for low income. So we're talking about allowing us the ability to find other new money and
To build,
to build.
with other new money.
Right. That's what we're talking about.
So if I may speak to the kind of the, I guess, previous step in this negotiation process, I think we started out with, you know, not having had any moderate income housing language in the bill. I think like after extensive negotiations with the affordable housing advocates, they kind of moved their position a bit so that we now are allowing for preservation, planning, construction of moderate income housing using any private dollars. So that's on the table. I think right now our last component that we're really trying to work for is to allow more public dollars to go towards this if there are any available to us. And I think from their position, I do think Debbie has a great point, which is I think given their statewide lens on this and perspective, I do think some of the nuance of the city by city, county by county needs can sometimes be lost and from the state policy perspective. And I do think kind of their general philosophical stance is that many of the public dollars, they would prefer to go towards those who are the absolute most housing burden percentage wise, which is their principle on this. So definitely see their perspective, but it's tough knowing like the
Going about the housing bond and the public money in the housing bond.
Yeah, so if I understand correctly, there's like a veterans and affordable housing bond act that's coming up for a ballot. It's gonna be a ballot measure in November. So if it is voted through, if it is passed, I believe there are, I think, one or two types of funding that the Housing Trust could have potentially applied for, where I think there's allocations of, I think for one of the funds, it's up to 20% of that money of each grant allocation could go to moderate income housing if the trust could provide a private dollar for dollar match for one of the funds. The other one, I believe, is for home ownership assistance funding through a bond. And I just found out about that one, so I don't know about the exact conditions of that, but it does say it can allow for up to 120% of the area median income, which is moderate income housing. And those are understandably things that trust would want to access, but that right now with the current authority, we would not be able to. Yeah.
Just verify, I sent a letter to the Laura Richardson, our senator that represents a lot of us. So they contemplate about what their position is going to be.
She would like to meet with us.
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
Okay. Moving on, update on legislative items of interest.
You wanna, well, David's getting his team act together. Yesterday, excuse me. It's late.
To the bus.
Sorry, David, sorry. I didn't mean to say it that way. Okay.
We love you.
Thank you, thank you. We can start with January, so.
I know, I said the
Yeah.
table, I got it.
Okay, so the letter, yesterday, we were contacted by the San Gabriel Valley COG that they wanted to sign a joint letter from us and the Gateway COG and And it had to do with the fact that the county government reorganization task force didn't have any items on the agenda. You couldn't see any attachments. And they were worried about a Brown Act violation. They couldn't get anything from the organization. And so we were part of a letter that got sent under my signature, not the board, saying that that we felt that the county reorganization task force ought to be making their attachments available to us. That we had to talk to cities about what's going on, and they didn't seem to be doing that. And we did get some pushback today from one of the supervisor's offices, but we think it's important that they're doing their work and they're not really incorporating your input. So I just wanted to tell you that happened. And David, you wanted to come?
Yeah, the other item that's in the packet is a letter from the CPUC to AT&T about the carrier of last resort issue that's kind of been discussed for many, many months or years at this point. AT&T had originally been asking the state to allow them to disconnect or discontinue that service. CPUC denied that request. AT&T did not like that answer and went to the FCC and was able to get approval through the federal government. So the letter that's in the packet is just a letter from the CPUC to AT&T, essentially demanding a clean and clear, crisp process to this, making sure nobody's left behind. At the end of the day, the CPUC is just, I think, going on record here. They I don't think have much say in anything going forward at this point, but since we had discussed this in the past, we want to make sure you were aware of the letter and had a copy of it, so.
They got their own taste of their own medicine.
Yeah.
What's the?
They have to do something right.
I don't know that there's a specific date yet. I think it's gonna be kind of phased. Certain areas they won't be able to turn off until the replacement technology's installed. So I would assume it's phased over a certain number of years.
Big issue for us.
Yeah, there's certain pockets of the state that this is a really high priority issue, and so.
Do we have a copy of the FCC decision and the basis about which they overruled California to do what should be done in their own state as opposed to making it a supremacy clause issue like
Yes, there's a footnote in the letter that looks to reference an FCC document. In the digital version of the letter, it probably works. But I'll see if I can, it was sent out by the CPUC, so I'll see if they make any other references to that FCC decision.
Okay, be interesting to read that.
It's a long one.
Okay. Moving on, upcoming events and announcements. We have the September board meeting October 1st.
No wonder you're confused.
Yeah, that's why I started with January.
Maybe you were right.
Okay, anything else?
Bill, I have one. So, I attended the Regional Water Quality Control Board hearing today, luckily virtually, because it went on and on, regarding the CII permit, which is Commercial, Industrial, Institutional, and some new requirements that they're doing. And while we all wanted to see things, see our water heading out to the ocean and in our waterways be clear, there are a lot of issues with this. One that I tried to raise, but they had so many speakers, I could not wait the extra 4 hours to get to that point. I only did 3 hours of fun with them, but like they say for like, let's take a commercial center parking lot above a certain size. Don't remember the size, but is subject to these permits with gathering water samples, and cleaning the water before it gets out. And this is just a parking lot, but they have failed to recognize that, like in any of our centers, let's take Del Amo as an extreme one because it's so large. The parking lot is not owned by the mall owners. The parking lot is owned by whoever still owns the Sears part. And
Trades.
okay, and Macy's with 2 different ownerships and so on. And some of these have ownership from long ago because the buildings have been subdivided, but still somebody's maintained separate ownership. So there's just no way to run this thing. Anyway, and people brought up all sorts of issues with this thing. This is just sort of the issue that the water board has had for a long time. And I don't blame them for it really, because it's always well, we've never done this before, but we're at a point now where we have to figure out how to do it. And so they take a stab at it. I will give them at least credit for listening, but they need to do more than just listen. They need to actively make use of that. So just wanted to update people on that because it is a big thing and these are impactful in most of our communities right now just with this. And assuming that this does go through, there's more pieces of it down the road. And it would be, I think, very hard on us as cities because you'll have things like playgrounds starting to count. And how are we going to sequester water from our playgrounds? Does that sound like a good idea? In schools, and right now they have it in there that it only applies to private and parochial schools. So, but not public schools. So yeah, we're thinking that's probably not defensible in court, just saying. Anyway.
Anything else? We're adjourned.
I have a